I don't know why I'm so conflicted about this. There's other things in the world to worry about, but this is what I worry about to relax. Hello, welcome to Standing for Your Book Reviews. As usual, I am Tina. Today I'm doing a book review of Aliens, Vasquez by V. Castro. This is a 2022 book. I think it came out like 2 weeks ago or a week ago. It's a sci-fi horror kind of from Titan Books. There are no spoilers in this review. I don't know how much of an introduction I have to do about this book, but I'm just going to start by saying, if you watch my channel regularly, you'll see it. This is the second Alien book I read this year. What was the first one? I don't even know. Oh, yeah. I read this one earlier in the year, and I also read a Predator one, which I absolutely loved. I loved it before. And I will say again that the Alien and Predator universes, I consider them interrelated, if not one universe, are my favorite fictional universe aside from probably Fallout. So yeah, I was very excited for this book. Aliens was a core part of my childhood, so much so that the titular Vasquez was a role model of mine as a kid. In fact, a friend and I tried to sign up for the Army Reserves when we were teenagers, but I was a year too young. I was 15, and by the time I was 16, we kind of forgot about it, so whatever. I do owe that military inclination, though, to Jeanette Vasquez, and to her also my love of military science fiction. Anyway, I was looking forward to this book all year, and despite Titan ignoring my desperate request for an ARC, I did end up buying it. Did I spend like $35 on the hardcover? No, I bought the ebook for like $10. As I've also said on my channel many times, I am cheap. So, what is this book about? Even before the doomed mission to Hadley's Hope on LV-426, Jeanette Vasquez had to fight to survive. Born to an immigrant family with a long military tradition, she looked up to the stars, but life pulled her back down to earth. First into a street gang, then prison. The Colonial Marines proved to be Vasquez's way out, a way that forced her to give up her twin children. Raised by Jeanette's sister, those children, Letitia and Ramon, had to discover on their own ways to survive. Letitia by following her mother's path into the military, Ramon into the corporate hierarchy of Weyland Yutani. Of course, I'm wearing my shirt. Their paths would converge on an unnamed planet which some see as a potential utopia, while others would use it for highly secretive research. Regardless of whatever humans might have planned for it, however, xenomorphs will turn it into a living hell. Of course. Did I enjoy this book? You bet your balls, testes or ovaries, whichever you have or prefer, that I did like it. That being said, the novel does have some issues. I wince when I say that because I don't like giving negative reviews. But while I definitely enjoyed this book kind of at surface level, upon deeper reflection, I have a few critiques. I kind of compare it to Alien Covenant, a fun movie to watch, but has some stuff that upon reflection you're like, what? Or why? Speaking of Covenant, one thing this novel did was fully situate aliens within the Prometheus timeline universe of the movies, in that we have some Vickers people, if you remember who that is, that's Charlize Theron's character in Prometheus, and Weyland Yutani, again, my shirt. These two corporations and their nepotism have survived almost 200 years, I guess. I mean, that's not really unbelievable. I'm not really sure how I feel about this because I always consider the Prometheus Covenant kind of spin-offs, and then this book, Inferno's Fall, I always consider them kind of like, I mean, according to Ridley Scott, they weren't really part of the original canon. They were like kind of like an offshoot or like exist in the same universe but aren't on the same trajectory. So I'm not really sure how I feel about combining the two because, to be honest, I'm more of an Aliens kind of purist. I'm more prone to watch those 4 movies, except for Alien 3, rather than the newer ones, even though the newer ones are fun. Anyway, I don't know. I don't know why I'm so conflicted about this. There's other things in the world to worry about, but this is what I worry about to relax. So, let's get back to the story. In terms of the good stuff about the book, the first 20% or so, which deals with Jeanette's backstory, was engrossing and compelling and so rich in detail. I both understood and was furious for Jeanette, as well as impressed and proud of her grit and tenacity. The first quarter of this novel really is fantastic, and I wish it had been longer. It kind of felt like an info dump, but at the same time, it worked. I don't know. I kind of hope for some more time spent in like the Aliens movie, but we don't really get that. It's kind of like, here's her life leading up to it, here's her final moments. That's the end. So that's not really a spoiler. Other things that I liked about the book, I really loved the LGBTQ plus representation in the story, the gender parity, and the authenticity of Jeanette's Latinx heritage that definitely righted the wrongs in terms of the casting of Vasquez in Aliens. If you're not aware, the actress who played her was a white woman with a really strong tanner applied. So yeah, not the series' proudest moments, but I'm glad that they, when Titan, I guess, purchased the rights to this, they decided to right this wrong, because I thought that was really a good way to kind of not absolve, but kind of pat over that kind of problematic depiction back then. I also, in the book, I loved the emphasis on the bonds of family and the positive and negative outlooks towards the future. We still have humanity kicking around on Earth, as well as dystopian elements about Earth that are not far-fetched. The wealth gap is still going strong, as well as the restriction of rights towards society's undesirables. So that I didn't see as far-fetched at all. So yeah, I thought that was really interesting. In terms of the aliens, though, if you were hoping for an action-packed Marines versus Xenomorphs novel, this has that much in the same way that grocery stores had toilet paper at the start of COVID. That's to say, in short supply. While the Xenos are part of the story, they are kind of barely part of the story, and all the action with them is in the last 15% of the book. The alien attacks are fairly standard, the attempts to make them more dangerous were a little flimsy, and the action was like too fast-paced. I was kind of like, oh, okay, here's the aliens, there's the aliens, bye-bye. While the description of the disfigured alien queen was creepy and unique, I can see why Castro writes horror, the final battle was very rushed. I almost got whiplash from it. I really wish that the aliens part of it had been drawn out and we got some, because I understand that we have, like 7 movies, 8 movies, if you count the Alien vs. Predator movies, that deal with aliens attacking people and people fighting them off, and we have a bunch of books about it too, but there are ways to make it more interesting. Rift War, this one I was in love with, added an interesting element. It seemed in this one it was kind of like, oh yeah, we've seen the aliens before, we're not going to focus on it a lot, and I was kind of like, no, I do like the alien fights. I guess my thing with this book is that it felt like it should have been a trilogy or at least a duology. We could have gotten a full-blown Jeanette novel, or at least her story maybe interwoven with her twins as teenagers and children in the first book, and then the core of this book's story as the second book. There was just so much going on in this book that I felt like nothing was given the proper amount of attention, and that's too bad because I really liked the book. I was just like, everything, I was kind of like, I want more of this, I want more of this, I want more of everything. So we get the twins' lives from childhood to mid-30s, I think, in this short book, which, while I did have distinct personalities and motivations, it just wasn't enough to really build out their characters. We get that Letitia is a badass with confidence and grit, and we don't get enough of like Letitia's military friends to actually care about them. The relationship, I'm kind of torn between this, because one thing about military science fiction novels that I'm not super into is like the grunt training aspect, so I'm kind of glad that part was skipped over, but it just kind of felt like her friends were just kind of there. We didn't really learn a lot about them as people. There was also a relationship surrounding Ramon, and then he's got his girls, Marianne and Julia, that had so much potential to be hard-hitting regarding the corruption of power and also like sociopathy, but it was competing with Letitia's military rise and her own kind of unnecessary romance. So it was like, nobody got enough time. I also had no idea how much time had passed in the novel as it progressed. Were the twins in their mid-20s or late 40s when the last scenes take place? I have absolutely no idea. This is why I think the book should have been 2. There just wasn't enough space for 3 major storylines, as well as the alien plot to be fleshed out. I don't blame the author for this. I think, and this is just speculation on my part, I do not work for Titan, I do not represent them. The publisher only wanted to make one of these, but told her she had to include all these plot points, but keep it around 400 pages. The page count of all of these books, pretty much. They're all kind of the same thickness. If this is what happened, as I'm assuming happened, I think she did an admirable job, but it's a shame the novel wasn't longer. I would have had no issue reading an extra 100 to 200 pages just to flesh everything out. I'm definitely going to be checking out more of Castro's work, though. I think she has great potential, and I've heard great stuff about her horror, so I really want to check that out. The best part of the novel overall is the first part with Jeanette. It's poignant to so many issues plaguing our world today, such as racism, police brutality, youth and prison systems, sexuality, reproductive justice, immigration, and poverty. And as such, I was more heavily invested in Jeanette than I was in her children, which, to be fair, that's what I wanted to read about anyway, but still, I'm trying to be nice. So, I guess that's it. Let me know in the comments who your favorite character is from any of the Alien movies. But if you say David the android simply because Michael Fassbender is hot, like, stop. We all know that Jonesy is the best character, hands down. Thank you.